Hello, good morning, and welcome to the latest morning stream from Blood Red. I'm Matt Addison. Ben Bocsak is alongside me. We're going to have a little bit of a chat around the latest Liverpool transfer rumours. Ben, a Liverpool transfer rumour, almost a former Liverpool transfer rumour in Raheem Sterling. It looks like he's going to be heading to Chelsea. I suppose we've kind of known that for a couple of weeks now. It seemed likely. It does look as though it's going to get confirmed very, very imminently, though. It looks like that deal is done. What do you make of that one? I think it's a really interesting one, actually.
Yeah, it's mixed feelings because on one hand you have Manchester City, Liverpool's probably biggest rival for the Premier League title, being weakened somewhat. Sterling, I think, was still one of their best players. But on the other hand, Chelsea get a player who's probably going to be in his prime. And obviously Chelsea are another big rival for the Premier League. So, it's mixed feelings. I think from Sterling's perspective, it's probably the right move. You know, he wants to be somewhere where he's the main man, and with Haaland coming in at Manchester City, he's not going to get that. I think all in all, it is fascinating, and I'm curious as to how Sterling will fit into Tuchel's sort of style of play. I don't really know where he's going to play. Is he going to play centrally? Is he going to play on the wing? Is Tuchel still going to play the back three? Because it's going to be fascinating to see where Sterling fits into that. And from Liverpool's perspective, obviously it's one of those where, I guess Manchester City being weakened slightly is the only positive. But Chelsea do get a fantastic player.
Yeah, you mentioned there about not being sure where Raheem Sterling fits in. I think that's really interesting because it kind of sounds like, from what we've been hearing from various Chelsea journalists, that they're going to try and move a little bit towards a back four next season, which I don't know whether that'll be every week. I don't know whether that's something that Thomas Tuchel will want to switch from, but it does seem... It seems fairly strange to me. I think the fact that they've got, obviously, Thiago Silva, who you'd imagine probably has to play in a three. You've got certain players who play much better at wing-back. Whether Marcos Alonso is going to be there next season or not, we don't know. But I don't know, it kind of feels like Chelsea going through a fairly big transition. They seem to be signing even more forward players when they've already got a lot of forward players, when probably the one thing they do need is centre-backs, really.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised, with Christensen and Rudiger leaving, they haven't really brought in the reinforcements they need. Obviously, there's talk of De Ligt, but I'm not really convinced De Ligt is the solution for Chelsea anyway. It is interesting to see if they do move to a back four. I think in terms of Chelsea, it's going to be a bit of a rebuild always, with the change of the owners, a new sort of method, a new sort of system as well established in terms of the transfers. Before Abramovich left, they seemed to really function really well in terms of selling players on, bringing players in. I mean, obviously the only error you could say was the Lukaku transfer, but apart from that, everything I think they've done really well. Now Abramovich has left. It's been a bit of a shambles, really, letting two of their first choice centre backs go on a free, and on top of that, not the targets they're bringing in. I don't think are necessarily the best solutions. I mean, there was talk of De Jong, De Ligt, Ronaldo. All these players have big names, but maybe are not necessarily value for money. I think Sterling is the only exception in that. I think 42 or 45 million roughly for his services is a very good deal, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what the next steps will be for Chelsea, because there's still a lot of work to be done there, I think.
Yeah, still plenty of work, and it seems like their owner is kind of taking it upon himself to be the sporting director as well, which I think would set alarm bells ringing if that was at Liverpool, certainly. Just a couple more bits then on Raheem Sterling before we move on. One is that there were a few reports, and we don't think that this is the case, or certainly not to a serious extent, but there were some suggestions that Liverpool might have gone for Raheem Sterling this summer, suggestions of other teams as well. But as I said, I don't think it's that likely that Liverpool would have gone for him probably just because they signed Luis Diaz in January, I'd say, Ben.
Yeah, and in terms of the financials as well, I don't think City would have been as happy to sell to Liverpool than to Chelsea. Then obviously Sterling's wage demands would have been pretty excessive. I'd imagine this is probably his last big contract that he can earn, and he would have wanted to squeeze out the maximum he can from that deal. So the only way I could have seen it happening is if Mohamed Salah didn't extend, but of course that debate is now sort of defunct. So yeah, I don't really see where Sterling would have fit in. If he wanted to be a key man, a first choice option, that would never have been possible at Liverpool.
And just to finish then, Raheem Sterling signs, let's say they get another centre-back this summer. How close do you think Chelsea get to Liverpool and Manchester City? Is it a signing that you think makes them a threat in the title race, or are they still a little bit of a way off that?
I still think they need a forward and a centre-back on top of another centre-back signing. So I do think I don't expect Chelsea to threaten as much, but they still have a good team, and you just never know in the Premier League if they go on a good run. Tuchel's a good manager; he's proven that by winning the Champions League. So I expect them to finish third still, or maybe it will be between them and Tottenham. I think in terms of third place, I think Tottenham will probably come slightly closer, maybe. But yeah, it's early days. I think there's still so much left in the window. It's hard to predict how much of a threat Chelsea will be. It all depends on their activity.
Yeah, still plenty of time left in the transfer window. And even though we think that Liverpool are pretty much there with their incoming, certainly, if not their outgoings, then there will still be a fair few transfer links. We'll move on to one of those. Nico Williams, not the Wales international, a different Nico Williams, not the one that's just gone to Nottingham Forest, being linked with a move to Liverpool. He's a forward, Ben. He plays for Athletic Bilbao. In fact, his older brother was linked with Liverpool about a decade or so ago for however many years in a row, and that never quite happened. Hopefully that's not going to be a similar saga this time around. But Nico Williams, what do you reckon for him? Is he one that you could see potential in? Is that one that Liverpool might look at, do you think?
Yeah, he's carrying on the family tradition of being linked to Liverpool. I think even Nico is not the first time links have emerged of him. Yeah, he's a talented player. I think it speaks volumes that he kept his brother out of the team at times last season. So that shows you his talent. I think he's only a teenager still, so plenty of time to improve and develop. But he is that type of club forward, explosive, good at pressing, gets in dangerous areas. His output maybe isn't as impressive so far. I think he still needs to improve his finishing, but there is something of a raw potential there, and something Klopp could work with potentially. Of course, though, with Liverpool's current attacking options, it would be very difficult for him to break into the side.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He actually turned 20 yesterday, so no longer a teenager. Happy birthday to Nico Williams for yesterday, if he's watching. But I suppose just to finish then, I believe that his contract runs out actually next summer. So I think that's where some of the speculation kind of comes in, that there might be a cut price deal to be done this year, possibly a free transfer next summer. But I suppose the only reason Liverpool would need to go and get another forward next summer was if one of them left. The obvious one would be Roberto Firmino with his contract situation in the same place. Would that be sort of a swap for you? Obviously, it's not stylistically the same player, very different players, Firmino and Williams. But I suppose if Liverpool are going to try and replace the Brazilian next summer, they're probably not going to be able to find someone that does the same things that he does.
Yeah, I suppose. With Williams, he could play on the right. So if Firmino does leave, there's still Jota and Nunes who can play up top in the number 9 position. And I think it would make sense to bring in a right winger to sort of offer competition to Salah and, even look to the future beyond 2025 as a long-term successor. Now, I don't know if Williams is the right personnel for that, but on a free contract, he's worth a punt, I think. And if that's the case, I think it would be a smart signing.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly could be one to keep an eye on, whether that's for Liverpool or for someone else over the next few years. I'm sure there'll be plenty more players linked with Liverpool as well over the next few weeks, even though we do understand it's pretty likely that they'll have finished their transfer business for this window. Certainly Jurgen Klopp has been saying that a lot over the last few days. I think at this point we do have to believe that that is true. We'll have all the latest though and all the analysis over on liverpool.com with pre-season well underway now. For now though, that will just about do us. Don't worry about that 4-0 defeat yesterday. It's pre-season. It doesn't matter. It was a training session. We'll see you very soon.